Yo, welcome to another edition of the Roster Reconstruction Podcast. I'm your host, Corban Ford. You can follow me on Twitter at Corban NBA. This show is part of the Switch Theory podcast and network, so check out Switch Theory online, switchtheory.com, on Twitter at Switch Theory. A lot of great stuff going on over there. Listen, y'all, we are square. I wouldn't even say squarely in the middle of draft season. We're like almost toward the end of it, but like full speed ahead, all that jazz. And so figured it was time. I've already had some good guests on so far, getting two other great guests on this show to break down the draft in a different way, doing some NBA draft superlatives. So if everyone went to high school, or if you haven't and you're going to be there soon, and you get the most likely to succeed in this or most likely to fail there, we're going to do that same type of principle toward the draft class. And helping me to do that are two really good buddies of mine, two great NBA and draft minds on their own right. The first one, you know him, you love him, Stephen Bagell at _NBA GELL. Listen, he's host of the One and Done podcast. He's host of the Early Bird Rights podcast. We've been collaborating for a minute, so you know I'm the second person, first time on this show, but he's been in this NBA space for a red hot minute. Julian Mendlesohn from On the Clock. You can follow him on Twitter, and I should have that. I do have that. Julian, I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. Where can we? Oh, at 12 Mendel, 12J Mendel. 12JMENDEL. There we go. I recovered. But follow both of these fine gentlemen out. They really know what they're doing in the NBA space. But speaking of that, bros, how we doing today?
Corban, I don't know where you went to high school that they give out superlatives of most likely to fail, as you just said. But But anyway, aside from that, I'm hoping you didn't win that award, because if you did, I would vehemently disagree with it. But anyway,
appreciate I digress. You, thank you, bro.
But yeah, I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here to talk draft, and I'm excited to get into some of these superlatives.
Should be fun. Definitely, man. Julian?
Dude, first off, I would just like to say I was not expecting the intro going in. Like, I've never seen that before, and that was freaking sick. I was blown away. I was like, holy crap, this is like high level stuff we got going on here. But Steven, there is one that's most likely to get arrested. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know what kind of high school y'all went to.
Okay, I don't know. That's a good one. I had, for the record, mine was most likely to talk himself into trouble, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, that one makes sense.
Because I remember getting like a 1-day suspension from the principal when I didn't, like, I just shared too much. I was just talking and like talked myself into it. It was the most hilarious, not hilarious thing that ever happened to me. So that was mine. But no, most likely get arrested. Listen, I've heard of some schools. You know, Steven, there's some, Okay,
well, that is not one we are going to be doing today.
Oh no, for multi reasons, we're not even touching those types of superlatives. We have some fun ones here, though. A list, I think 9 to 10 of them that put together, already shared with the guests here beforehand. So we're gonna run through them. We're actually do one at a time. I kind of think that'll be a little more fun than like stating them all and then going back and restating them. So the first one I want to throw, each of us are gonna take a turns, kind of bouncing around here. I may selectively put an answer in myself, but this isn't to highlight me, it's to highlight my guys here. But the first one we have of this draft class, and we've already heard so much about the strength of it and, you know, the lack of superstar talent. I think it was Jovan Buha said that he was told basically, like, compared to other drafts, it would be like taking the top 7 of any other draft, cutting it off and starting the draft right there, like 7 and up, which I thought was like really interesting as like an analogy to hear. But that's what I love about this. So much nuance, so much agreements, disagreements, all of that. So the first superlative, Julian, we'll start with you. Go to Steven, the next one. I mean, we'll kind of flip-flop each time. Who is most likely to be an NBA superstar from this class?
I got to say Ron Holland.
Ooh, I like that.
It's a risk, and it's not like I think so. The way I want to phrase it is, if someone is going to be a superstar from this class, which it's 50-50 on if we're going to get one, we'll get an all-star. Every draft class has an all-star. But I think if Ron Holland can shoot the ball and develops that, he just has the two-way ability. He has that burst to get to the rim. He can finish around the rim. He can play make a little bit more than people really give him credit for. he has the skills, I think, to potentially be a superstar. It'll take a few years though. So I'm not going to say like in 2 years, come back to this episode and, shout me out. Wait, like 4 or 5 years at least.
Oh, wow. 2028, y'all. 2028.
Yeah.
Steven?
I'm going to go with Stephon Castle. I know the question was most likely to be an NBA superstar.
That was the question, my friend.
So let me ask you, does Jimmy Butler qualify as an NBA superstar?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes. So then I'm going with Stephon Castle.
Wow.
Similar to what Julian said about Ron Holland could sort of be applied to Stephon Castle in terms of like if the jumper comes around, which it never really came around for Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler is still, a top 15 player in the NBA, even at 34 years old. Stephon Castle, just his ability to play out of the pick and roll, his ability to play, I know in the draft guide that we're working on, I've used a million times defensive menace. But that's exactly what Stephon Castle could be on perimeter defense. So I think given the ability to play in the pick and roll, the ability to be an elite perimeter defender, everything Castle brings, if the jumper comes along, which I think it will with due time, I just think he has all the tools, similar how Julian feels about Holland, to be a superstar.
Wow. Listen, that's Julian. You have a response to that? I like the reasoning. I definitely think it's a hot take, Steven, but I get where you're coming from with that.
I love it. Steven has been like the biggest buyer on Stephon Castle as a top 3 pick for like a while now. So I'm not surprised to hear him say that, but if you didn't follow Steven before and you heard him say that just off the cuff, it would definitely be surprising.
Yeah, I agree.
Wow.
That's a take. I like it though. Like I said, the reasoning, because especially Jimmy Butler, because when you said, I'm like, oh, Steven, oh man, you started the morning off most likely to come off with the hot take, but then like you're right. Like Jimmy Butler's jump shot, at least from like 3, has never really been there. I think mid range, you'd say it's definitely been consistent, but he's definitely like developed himself from like a hard nosed defensive role player to like a do it all utility type wing to like raising that to the level of, like you said, a superstar. Was a star first, then a superstar. So yeah, I would agree with that. It's so interesting though. And I guess, yeah, if you believe in Stephon Castle's ability to level up, then sure. I guess myself, I kind of lean toward Ron Holland. I'm very high on Ron Holland, but I'm gonna shock everyone. I'm gonna go Rob Dillingham. I think Rob Dillingham could be the Trae Young level of superstar, where offensively the guy is just so good that yes, there are clear and apparent warts like on the other end. Like I don't even want to think about him. But like the guy comes in with that shiftiness, the NBA ready mindset. The guy I think could average like 25 and 8 and 25 points, 8 assists. Like I think he can do that like within the first 3 years of his career. Like I'm very high on him and his offensive skill set. So that'll be my pick for most likely be NBA superstar. But this is really interesting. 3 different players as like, someone to kind of nominate here. All right, the next one, kind of the other end of the spectrum here. Most likely to be out of the league in 5 years. I didn't want to do 3 years. I was going to do that. I was going to do end of the rookie contract. 5 years seemed to be like, makes sense. Like, I hate to use that analogy, but you have a guy like a James Wiseman. Or like a guy who like, it just didn't find the right spot. Like a Jahlil Okafor beforehand. Like not a bad guy, but just didn't find the right role. By year 2, year 3, you're already kind of souring on. Year 4, year 5, you're on the minimum contract. And then by the end of year 5, year 6, you're like hoping for a call. Who is that, Steven, for you in this class?
Julian's going to hate this one. Actually, I don't know if Julian's going to hate it. Keyshawn George from Miami. Because here's the thing. I think he could sort of shoot it, kind of. I mean, that's his bread and butter, is that he is basically a borderline elite shooter. I don't see that skill being adequate enough to justify the rest of his game. See, but I believe he was 5'7" his junior year of high school. He's literally grown like over a foot within the past year, 2 years. He did play professionally, I believe, in France before he played at the University of Miami. He wasn't productive there. I haven't seen him be productive anywhere he's gone. that the shooting can carry him enough. And I think Julian said this on Bird Rights the other day when it was a three of us song, where it was like, he just doesn't pass the eye test for me. I watch him, I'm not impressed, I'm very underwhelmed, and other than maybe being able to be a 40% three-point shooter, I just don't know what else he brings to the table that will allow him to, I mean, other than shooting, I don't think he has any. He's not an above average in any other NBA skill. And that concerns me. That if he's not able to get these shots off, then what does he provide to a team?
That is wow. That's a good one. I think that, I mean, what I would say is, in addition to his shooting, you have good size and good playmaking ability. At best, like a playmaking, connecting forward. I could see, I don't know, like a Kyle Anderson with an outside shot. Like that makes sense to me because he's not super athletic. I think athletic gifts are an issue in terms of his, like, you know, ability, like bounce or that sort of level. But defensively, really solid defender, facilitates the ball pretty good, and shoots the ball pretty well. Like a jack of all trades, master of none type of guy, you know, who's 21. That I mean, I think that finds a role, but I respect your take. Obviously, that is definitely an interesting one. Julian, your thoughts on this, and then your guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to really say for me personally that a 6'8", 40% three-point shooter in college is going to flame out of the NBA in 5 years. But like Steven does have a point. There's a lot of aspects of Georgia's game that are like at best average, you know? I still think he's worth a late first round pick just because, again, a 6'8" dude who can shoot the three, who shot the three at 40% as a freshman is like, if you're at 27, 28, especially in this class, you might as well take a shot on him. But I don't think it's out of the question to say that there's a world where Kaishan George just doesn't work out and he ends up in Europe. Like, I don't hate it. My guy's a bit more shocking, I think.
Okay.
I'm going to say Nikola Topic.
Woo!
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It just, I just see it, man. Like, he's not the most athletic guy to begin with. There were already questions about his ability to shoot and like whether or not, you know, he can physically play at the NBA level. And then you add on top of that, he's like already dealing with Achilles injuries. Not Achilles, sorry, ACL. I always mix those two up. That he has like not great knees already. It seems like a recipe for disaster. I don't have a good feeling about him. I've dropped him out of my lottery at this point because I'm terrified. Like, I would not want to spend a top 10 pick on a guy coming over from Europe, one, which is already a question mark. We've seen that be hit or miss. Two, again, like there's questions about his speed and athleticism, which are two pretty big concerns in the NBA, and his shooting. And three, the like injuries. I just have a feeling it's going to be a really bad flame out and it's going to get somebody fired.
Ooh, well, there you go. I mean, there it is. That's bold. I mean, maybe not as bold. Okay, so I have some problems with Topic. I think like the shooting's a thing. I think the injury issue, the wingspan length, like a few things. Offensively, like the fit if he's not on ball, and if he's good enough to be on ball just to justify being on ball. Like, I think there's a few things I have thoughts about. Ultimately, my guy is going to be Donovan Clingan. Donovan Clingan and Zach Edey. I have like really, like, I get it. I sort of bigs, like good rebounding, defensive. Like, I guess I just have a hard time seeing. Okay, out in 5 years, that's tough. You know, I'm not gonna go Donovan Clingan. I'm gonna go Zach Edey. There we go. I'm gonna go Zach Edey. I don't know. I feel like he could be like a Steven Adams type player, or he could be out. Like, I just think I'm not as high on him as others are. I think that's really the main thing. And so for me, it's like easier to jump on. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I could see him hanging around or not. I think the next person I would have that same type of thought for, Tijon Saloon.
I get that one.
Yeah, because like the man of mystery types are sometimes just that, a mystery, you know, and like we never know, and like he just kind of like these limited time to conduct workouts. You know, he was ranked number 9. He sprained his ankle. Like it's just a bunch of different things. And I get it, 6'10", good frame, all of that, but that's just my question. I don't know, and I think his awareness is kind of off and on. But those are mine. Interesting. I take back my Donovan Clinging on Zach Edey. That was just for the aggregators, and people would get fired up as if we have those here. All right, next kind of category here on the list is, and here we go. Get ready for it. Most likely to be drafted way too early. And I look back to, I don't know, last year as a Laker fan, Jalen Hood-Schifino. Love the guy. He's probably drafted in the right range, but I would have drafted like 10 spots later, personally. And looking back on it now, I mean, it's only been 1 year, but I don't think I was bad at that. But we all know players who are drafted, and you're like, wait, what? And looking back, even if they are a serviceable career, not saying that they're going to be a bust or anything, but even if they are, like, okay, you had a good year, I still would have taken you 15, not number 5. You know? So, Julian, who is that player for you?
You mentioned him, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that Clinton?
No.
Zach Edey.
It's Zach Edey. I've gotten into a bit of kerfluffle with people over Zach Edey. He was referred to as the most dominant big man in college basketball history, or most dominant player in college basketball history, which I have a pretty big problem with.
Okay.
I've heard a rumor from one of our guys. Source trust me, bro. I'm sure he has sources, but until, obviously he's not going to reveal them. So right now it's source trust me, bro. That Edey's going top 10, which I think is a drastic reach for a guy who I don't see being anything more than a backup center. I don't want to go on a Zach Edey rant, because I could go on a Zach Edey rant for probably 10 or 15 minutes, but I think that's kind of,
oh wow,
that's kind of where I'm going to plant my flag and stick with it.
Okay.
So you're not an idiot?
I don't know. Do you want to be? Who coined that term? Was it his fans who said that?
I have no idea. But an idiot is an idiot believer.
So much they said it.
Yeah.
They embrace being idiots.
No, I'm not an idiot.
Steven, I'm sorry. Are you an idiot? First, that's my first question. The second question is, who is your player?
I wouldn't coin myself an idiot, but I might coin myself an idiot. Two different things. But I don't know. I like Zach Edey. I think if we're going to do the whole Zach Edey thing right now, I think he'll be a serviceable backup, and I think he's a guy who, when the starter is out, could, go play 25 minutes and put up a double-double. I mean, that's what he's been able to do all college. He's so big. He has pretty good footwork. He might get eaten alive defensively, but a lot of backup centers do. Montrezl Harrell won a 6th Man of the Year playing no defense, all offense as a backup center. So, yeah, I think Edey will be a serviceable NBA player. Now, would I use a lottery pick on him? Would I use a top 10 pick on him? Like some people are suggesting? No. But would I use, pick what Toronto's picking? I have him going 19 in my mock draft that I'm writing for Busting Brackets right now. I think that's a good range for him. So, yeah, take with that what you will if you want to call me an idiot or not. So it's most likely to be drafted way too early. I'm going to upset a lot of people with this one. Devin Carter from Providence. He's apparently rising up. He's apparently rising up boards to the point where I think it was either Wasserman or Jeremy Warren Givoni released a mock today. And I just like looking at those mocks, not because I agree with them, but just because I think they are good indicators of where teams view guys right now. And one of them, I think it was Gavoni and Wu, had Devin Carter going number 8 to the Spurs. And I just think that's way too high. And I think it was the Julian, actually, I was talking about the other day, because I had Devin Carter, or it might be my co-host from One and Done, John. Either way, I have Devin Carter in my mock at 13 to Sacramento, which 13 seems like the later end of where he is right now. And I said Devin Carter and Davion Mitchell might as well be the Spider-Man meme in terms of, the meme where the two Spider-Mans are pointing at each other. Because both of those guys had an outlier shooting year the last year in college before they declared for the draft. And then for Mitchell, for example, it wasn't sustainable when he came to the league, and he basically cannot shoot. That's my same concern for Devin Carter. He plays hard on defense, and I think that's definitely translatable, his defensive ability, just like it was for Davion Mitchell. But I just don't know offensively what he's going to be able to provide, because I think this year the jumper was the outlier for him, and I don't think he's ever going to shoot like that again in the league. So that's my concern, that Devin Carter's rising up boards, and I just don't know how the game train. Again, Corban, how you introed it, I'm not saying he's going to be a bust, but I do think at 8, 9, 10 range that he is going to be drafted way too high.
Yeah, we're just going to look back and go, yeah, no. And that's fine. I just, in that moment, like, it's a little much, and I think that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, appreciate that. I think there was some good insight there. Definitely something to take away, kind of just reevaluating our own draft boards and what we think. And we'll have all of our answers here in literally a week from now, as we're recording this. So that will be fun to see. Well, over a week, over the next 2 days of that week. So interesting. All right. Next question. Most likely to be drafted later than consensus. So obviously, we have all of these guys that we are really, really fond of. But sometimes we might stand alone in that reasoning, right? And so what guy do you have more likely to be drafted later than consensus? I'll start with mine, Tyler Smith. Love me some Tyler Smith. I see him kind of constantly mocked, in the 20s, late teens, early 20s, some in the late 20s. I like Tyler Smith like crazy good. Like functional, like NBA big, who could shoot the three ball well, finish well, good length, good pop. Like I have him in my top 10. Like toward the back half of that.
Did you have him number 3?
For my big board.
Okay. So I'm not going crazy. I did see that. Okay. Because Julian and I. Okay. Well, now I'm just going to interrupt you to promote the draft guide. Julian and I saw on your big board for the draft guide that you had him number 3 last night. Julian's like, who has Tyler Smith number 3? Julian himself is also very high on Tyler Smith. So it's not bad reasoning, but we were like, is that Corban with the number 3? So that kind of rung a bell.
That was me on purpose. Like I'm still refining my list, and I'm not done like building it out. I got confused on it, and I was doing it between work. But anyway, behind the scenes stuff there. But the draft guy, by the way, like, real quick, take a moment. Did we plug that already?
I don't think
so.
All right, let's plug real quick while y'all listening. Let's plug the draft guide, the on the clock draft guide that is coming out. Why can't I speak? Julian, Steven, take it away.
So
you got it, Steve.
I was gonna say Julian can fill in the blanks of whatever I leave out. But yeah, it's the on the clock NBA draft guide. It is $12 pre-sale. We will be having the pre-sale until it's released, which should be, I think, Thursday night. So Corban, I don't know when you're releasing this episode, but Thursday night the pre-sale ends. It'll be $12 now, $20 after that. And yeah, we are doing, I think, 100. We're doing definitely 100 prospects. I think we're also doing 8 honorary mentions, which in this class, which there's no consensus at all, the fact that we're able to go deep dives into 108 different players really shows, how plugged in a lot of the guys are. It's myself, Julian, Caleb from On the Clock. Corban is a contributor to it. We have a whole bunch of, I think we have 13 guys in total working on it. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. We have been plugging on Twitter. Check out the On the Clock Twitter. I could pull up the handle if Julian doesn't know it offhand. I think it's just On the Clock. On the Clock BB.
_BB, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Well, you could follow On the Clock _BB. Go.
Wait. Nope. It's On the _clock BB.
On the _clock BB. I'm also been promoting it. You could, if you need to buy it off my Twitter, either way, it all goes to the same place. It's at the _NBAGEL. That's NBAGELL. And yeah, I know a whole bunch of draft guides coming out this week. I think ours is up there with just about any of them. So again, for $12, you can't beat it. Julian, anything to add?
Yeah, we've been putting a lot of work in on this thing. The guys have been working hard, and I think quality-wise, it's going to be really, really good. There's a combination of like analytical stuff and like your traditional evals. You can also see like who ranked which players where. or what our stat says that players are ranked at. Cool stuff like that you can kind of gauge which guys are interested in which players more, and it's not just one hive mind, releasing a guide about a consensus. So you can see, even if, say me and Corban had Ron Holland 2 and he's number 2 on our board, someone else may have him at, say, like 20th, and you can see that on their board as well. It's really interesting to see where people's heads are at.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm pumped. I'm excited. I think it's gonna be great. And feel free, y'all. You can also PayPal me. Actually, no, I'm just kidding. That's not going to the draft guide if y'all do that. Just kidding. Don't worry about it. But listen, follow. Like I said, well, I'll have the description for the link. All of that in the actual description for this pod. So if you're interested, check it out as well. But going back to, we had to put the promo in because I totally forgot to do that earlier. But going back to my original question, Tyler Smith, very high on him. I just think that he has the NBA ready skills, and I get the other guys have higher ceilings and or potential higher ceilings. But I feel he's going to come in right now with a skill set that we've seen other players have and succeed in this league in. And I just think, especially proving it in the G League, shooting from the NBA line on good volume, good efficiency on a god-awful G League Ignite team, the artist formerly known as G League Ignite. It's a lot going on there. So that's a guy I think is going to be taken earlier than consensus. But, Steven, we'll start with you. Who do you think is going to be taken, not earlier, later, my mistake, than the consensus?
Let me go with Rob Dillingham. I'm going to go with him, not for any fault of his own. I had Dillingham at one point up to number 2 on my big board. Now he's around the 5, 6, 7 range for me. I think the offensive skill is elite. I think he's a very underrated playmaker. But my biggest issue, not my biggest issue, but I think a team's biggest issue and why he would fall in the draft is because of the size. I mean, he can't play a lick of defense because of how small he is. And unless he puts on weight, which is going to take time because he weighed in 170 something pounds. Unless you're Allen Iverson, it's tough to have a sustained career as live up to the hype as a top 5, top 10 pick at that size. So that's one guy. I do love Dillingham. Again, I have him around 5, 6, 7 on my board. But if you ask me which you are asking me, most likely to fall in the draft, essentially, most likely to go later than consensus, it would be Rob Dillingham for me, because I could see teams being scaled off because of the size.
I like it. That's a solid reason there. Julian?
I like both of the guys that you guys said. I agree with Tyler Smith should be a top 10 pick because he was forced to play center because they had no centers because they had a bunch of 6'6" to 6'10" wings and Izan Almanza. And he's not I don't think he's a true big. So it looks a lot worse than it actually was. And I completely agree with Steven on Dillingham. I don't think teams get it with him, which also makes no sense. I have a couple that, because I'm kind of debating on, so these guys aren't necessarily the most consensus in a given spot. So I was unsure how to consider if they're, falling basic consensus. I think one's going to be Collier. I don't know why. Teams always do this, especially with, the one and done guys. They randomly drop. We saw it with Cam Whitmore last year. We're probably going to see it with Dillingham this year, especially ones with some sort of question mark. And I think Collier has a lot of them. I think he should go somewhere between 15 to 20, but I wouldn't be surprised if he drops to the late 20s somehow. And then my other one's DaRon Holmes, because I just think for whatever reason, NBA GMs do not understand DaRon Holmes right now. And I mean, I've been someone who has been, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I have been someone who has been on the bandwagon of DaRon Holmes being an NBA player since his sophomore season at Dayton. So I've been waiting 2 years for this guy to finally be recognized as a first round pick. And I just have a doubt that it's actually going to happen. And it makes me so sad because I think he should be drafted in the lottery. But I just think he's going to drop to late first round and it's going to be a steal.
What does the dog think about it?
The dog is sad because he's blind and deaf and no one's home.
For the record, Corban just muted my mic, thinking my dog was barking. It just said the host unmuted your mic. My dog's at the groomers right now getting a haircut.
What's funny is I muted it, heard it, and went, "Oh, it's not him." Because I'm like, Steven, why aren't you muting your mic? And I know I'm like, Julian can't because he's talking. I'm like, Steven, like, I get it, it's all good. I mean, listen.
No, my dog's at the groomer right now, so I was like, "Is she barking?" I was like, "Wait, she's not here."
That's hilarious. Oh boy, I didn't even know if you. Oh, that's hilarious. Also, wait for streamer to be messy over here. I'm trying to be helpful. Like, oh, that is funny. But no, I gotta love dogs. Listen, I agree with a few players that Julian mentioned. I think that is one of those things where, especially with DaRon Holmes, I see DaRon Holmes going late lottery, or not late lottery. I'd say mid to late first round. If he's going late in the first round, like I know that Sports Illustrated, which I mean, who knows if they wrote it or not, has him going to the New Orleans Pelicans at 23. I think that's way too late, personally.
I think I have him later in my mock. Again, my mock does not reflect my big board. I just think where teams would have him go in reality. Let me see. I have him in the second round. I have him at number 32 right now in my mock. Just because I don't think NBA GMs are buying what he's selling. And us, the three of us all buying what he's selling. All three of us have him top 15, top 20 on our boards.
So your mock draft, what you think teams will do?
Yes. It's not reflective of my big board.
Okay, got it. I get that. If 32 teams, if teams have all 30, like all the teams drafting have a chance and pass on him, and then I would be beyond shocked. You know what I mean? Like I get it. I agree with you. I don't think they fully understand, like, and I get it. There's some things they need to work on, maybe like what's his ideal role and all of that. But like he's the guy who's a big who can rebound, stretch the floor.
No,
and it's shown in the college level. Yeah, no, you get it.
I like the player, but I just for some reason when I'm looking at Givoni's board and Wasserman's board and Vicini's board, these guys who are plugged in with NBA scouts have him lower. So clearly NBA scouts are not buying into it.
I guess not. That's crazy. Huh?
Makes me sad, man.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. But I get it. Totally makes sense. Understandable for sure. All right. Moving on from that to our next question. We're all on NBA Twitter. We know how it goes. We know the vibes, the trends, all of that. Who is most likely to be an NBA Twitter darling? For whatever reason, people just love this guy, and they won't stop talking. And if he is bad, they're going to be like, well, did you see that great play he had in the midst of his 1-for-9 performance? That was a great screen assist. Or whatever the case may be. Like, who's that one guy that NBA Twitter is going to be all over? We'll start with Steven.
I'm going to say Matas Buzelis, just because he's a flashy player. I mean, I could see someone posting his highlights. He could dunk, he could shoot, he handles the ball, he could pass. So I just feel like, if you're putting together a mixtape of players in this class, Buzelis is a one, like, ooh, like he's flashy. I like him. He has these cool highlights. So that's a guy that I could see, maybe that doesn't answer the superlative of NBA Twitter, but I guess it's what you define NBA Twitter as, because there's a lot of people on NBA Twitter that just look up highlights and that's basically it. So if you're talking about just like who has the nicest highlight reel and who people are going to love watching on Twitter highlights of, I'm going to go with Buzelis for that reason.
Okay, I like it. Julian?
Buzelis is a good one. I'm going with Reed Shepherd, especially depending on where he gets drafted. I think if he gets drafted to a team like Houston or the Wizards, if he plays well, they're going to be like all over him. If he plays decently, they're going to be all over him, because those are two franchises that once a guy gets going a little bit, get really, really excited about their players. And I think Reed is going to be a guy who like starts off pretty hot because he can shoot. And every time he gets a block, I think it's going to be posted about 500 million times on NBA Twitter. Every single block. So that's mine. Kept it simple.
I'm with it. That makes sense to me. Yeah, I am going to probably go with Alex Sarr. Simple enough. Or Alex Star or Zachary Shashay. Like one of those two at the top, where it's like they're gonna average like 9 and 5, and like every little like key like upside play is just gonna be poured over. That's just my thoughts on that. All right. Opposite. This may be more of a personality question, that sort of thing, but most likely to get his coach fired. For whatever reason, however you choose to interpret that, that is what that question is. That's what that superlative is. Most likely gets coach fired. Julian, it's on you.
I got a good one for this, I think. I'm gonna go with Rob Dillingham.
Oh my goodness. All right, why you say that?
Hear me out. So, like, Dilly's a guy who will take, on average, and probably make about half, probably 5 to 6 bad shots, at least a game, right? And hit 3 or 4 of them. But, like, I don't know if you guys remember, it was probably 10-ish years ago, where, like, Curry dribbles around, like, 4 Clippers defenders and drills a 3, and Steve Kerr is just, like, standing there, like, with his head in his hands, like, what is he doing?
Yep.
Like, Dillingham is going to be making his coach do that for entire games. His coach gets pissed, benches him for a stretch. The team falls off because Dillingham's their best scorer, and the coach gets fired.
I could see something like that. So basically, Monty Williams dodged a bullet. No, I'm kidding. Basically, okay, I like that. The type of way he plays, I could totally see it lending itself to that type of reaction. So that makes sense. Steven, what about you?
Like father, like son. Give me Bronny James.
Oh.
Look, I have no reason or indication about any of these guys, becoming good enough to be the point where they could get a coach fired. I have no idea about that.
No, of course not.
So let me get the fun answer. If you ask me which of these players is most likely to get their GM fired because of them basically getting drafted too high, I would probably go with Zachary Ricochet if that was the question. Just because I do think there's some bust potential for Ricochet. I like him as a player. I think I have him on my big board up. I have him number 7. But if you take him number 1 if you're the Atlanta Hawks or number 2 if you're the Washington Wizards, there's a huge difference between 1 and 2 or number 7 in this class, basically. Well, maybe not this class, but typically there is a big number between 1 and 2 or number 7. And Ricochet, I see, due to the lack of creation and due to the lack of athleticism, I think there's an alternate scenario somewhere where he just flames out. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't think it will happen. If I thought it was going to happen, I wouldn't have him number 7. But I do see it's feasible that if all of a sudden the Hawks take him number 1 and then trade Trae Young and start a rebuild thinking they have the piece to the rebuild and he flames out, then yeah, I could see I know Kyle Korver's the assistant GM there. I know Travis Schlenk's not there anymore. Is it Landry Fields in Atlanta?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I could see that being a scenario where Landry Fields or Kyle Korver or whoever it may be ends up, losing their job over it.
Wow. Well, there you go. That's bold, but I get it. But like, whoa. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a solid one. All right. This one more, that was just a random question thrown out there. Obviously, we don't have really good intel, as the buzzword was.
We have no intel.
No intel on these players, but I just a fun one to kind of guesstimate, I guess. All right, here's another. This is just off of the scoring prowess of these guys. Who is the most likely to drop 50 points first in his draft class? So that's the scoring and also how quickly they adapt to the NBA game, or who gets hot fastest and first. Steven, who do you have as most likely to drop 50 first?
Ooh, I have 3 guys for this one. I was really torn. I was going to say Rob Dillingham, just because we know he's a walking bucket, but due to his size, I don't know if he's ever going to be the first one. I think he'll hit 50 at some point in his career, but I don't think he'll be the first one. I was going to say Dalton Connect. But I'm going to go with Reed Shepherd just because the guy shoots like 54% on catch and shoots. I just see a game where he goes like 12 of 20 from 3, and he's such a high IQ player. He'll get to the line a little bit. I could just see Reed Shepherd, having Corban says, but he has no bag.
Yeah, like here's the thing. I think Reed is going to be a solid player at the next level, but like he's gonna need a lot of help to get those 50 points. Like he's not someone who's like get hot and like make it happen. Like I don't think he's really good on ball. Like he's functional on ball, but not like going to create his own shot. You know, it has to be like he'd have to get like the Corey Brewer 50. You know, like a lot of runouts and like you said, a bunch of the big threes. I can see him going like 8 of 14 from 3, something like that. But then like I don't know. I'm that's a bold one. I like that you brought that up. I just don't know if I like his on-ball utility enough to be that kind of guy without being like a Klay Thompson who had 50 points on like 13 dribbles or something. But do you see Reed Sheppard like that? Because I don't.
I think Reed Sheppard
could be, I guess.
I think he could put the ball on the floor. I mean, Klay Thompson could. He just doesn't because he's playing next to Steph Curry. But I don't know. As I said, Sheppard shoots what? I think 54% on catch and shoots.
In college,
So who's to say he's not going to get hot catching and shooting, and he puts the ball on the floor a little bit and gets another. Let's say he hits 12 threes, that's 36 already. And then who's to say he can't get another 14 points in the mid-range and driving to the basket?
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's feasible.
I just see him being such a good microwave scorer that I could see him going on a heat check. One random game in December, right around Christmas time, dropping 50. Everyone's talking about him, and he's the first rookie to do it. The question wasn't most likely to drop 50 in the career. The question was first one to do it, and I could see Sheppard just doing something like that.
First. Okay, yeah. No, I get it. I just first. But okay. Yeah. I like it. Like I respect it. I think the diversity of thought is really good for this. So thank you for that, Stephen. Wow. Okay. Listen. Reed Sheppard. And then Julian, who do you have?
So I just thought of another one. Mine was initially Rob Dillingham. I think that's like the go-to easy answer. Rob Dillingham puts up 50 points on 45 shots, you know, doing Rob Dill things in a close game. I think a sneaky one, and this is kind of just me making a bet on this guy that he's going to be really, really good, Kel'el Ware.
Oh, okay. Kel'el, so I can't even speak. Kel'el Ware scoring 50 first.
Yeah.
On what? On what do you like dump offs? Like how do you see? I'm sorry, that's a shocker for me, Julian. I gotta say, okay, tell me more.
So there's 3 conditions for this one. One, everyone else in the class has to not be good enough to score 50 for a significant period of time. So it'll take them a while.
yeah, something like that. Okay.
This may not be most likely to, but it's sneakily likely to. If we can alter the superior, most sneakily likely to score 50 points in the class.
I'm down to alter it. Yeah, okay.
But Kel'el has this like weird fadeaway game that he's been working on, right? And I think there's a world. I see it. I just see this world where Kel'el Ware develops into like a legitimate offensive big with a multi-level scoring bag and just has a night where he like can't miss and drops 50 points.
Wow. All right. I am willing to try to see the vision here. As of right now, I don't, but I would like to. And I'm with it. My guy is Tyler Kolek. I'm just kidding. It's not. Yeah, just kidding. No, I have Rob. Although I could see Ron Holland putting together the old like I said, Corey Brewer special. You know, a lot of run outs, a lot of transition, getting a lot of free throws, making a 3 or 2. Like I could see that. But is it first? I don't know. But that's a good one for sure. All right. Julian, gotta start with you on this one. Most likely to be overrated. When all is said and done, we look back and we go, wow, that guy we were all high on, but he was not that guy. I think back to the 2014 NBA draft with Mario Hezonja. Everyone loved Hezonja. I loved Hezonja. And it looked like serviceable player in the EuroLeague, but like he was definitely overrated. Who was the guy we look back on and we're like, yeah, that guy was, yeah, we definitely kind of sold hard on this one.
I think top 5 draft pick Donovan Clingan is going to be overrated.
Okay. Wow.
I think he's going to be like, I'm not saying this to say like, yeah, Donovan Clingan is going to be a bust and this is going to be a terrible pick. I say this more to say that I think he's going to end up like not being a defensive player of the year candidate like some people project him to be. I think he's just going to be like a serviceable big, which is fine. Like a starting big in the NBA is still like a decent return on a top 5 pick. Mm-hmm. But I think people like there's going to be, I think, other guys in this class somewhere in there. I don't know who's right and who's not right now. Obviously, I like to think that I'm right or that one of the 3 of us is right. But like you really never know. I just think with Klingon, like he's going to be good, but not like top 5 good. And people are going to like, I don't think he goes top 10 in a redraft. I think he goes in the lottery in a redraft, but not top 10. Maybe borderline top 10 in a redraft.
But not quite top 10. Okay. I can definitely get with that. Steven.
I have an answer, but I don't know how much sense it makes because I don't know how high it's currently ranked nowadays, and that's Jacoby Walter from Baylor. Yes, he's a tough shot maker and it's impressive, but that's kind of his bread and butter. I mean, similar to kind of what I said about Kayshawn George. Yes, he's 6'9" and he's a tough shot maker, but I don't see him doing anything else above average. So I don't think Jacoby Walter at this point is a first round pick. I know it was never going to happen, but both John and I talked about it on One and Done. We think he should have went back to school, honestly. Whether that was at Baylor or somewhere else, because Baylor does have VJ Edgecombe coming in, who's going to be likely a top 5 pick in next year's class, or at least projects to be. But Jacoby Walter, if he's not making tough shots, I don't even really have the opportunity to take tough shots in the NBA. Look at Amani Bates. His main thing was, he's next Kevin Durant because of his tough shot making. He ended up being picked in the 40s and is on a 2-way this year. So I don't know what the difference between Imani Bates is and Jacoby Walter. That Jacoby Walter is a consensus first-round pick. So maybe Walter is an NBA player for 8 to 10 years, just like I think Imani Bates will be, just because of the skill that he possesses in terms of being able to put the ball in hoop, which is an important skill. But he's not going to do it efficiently, and I don't see him paying the dividends of a pick in the late teens, early 20s. He did get a green room invite, so I think that indicates he will be a top 20 pick. I just don't see it.
That's fair. I definitely see where you're coming from. I'm high on him there. Which I have him mid lottery for me, but I'm definitely high on him in terms of what is the word? Why can't I think right now? In terms of like where I have him in the lottery and like in the mock drafts. And as far as my big board, I forgot where I have him, but like I was pretty solid on him, probably still in the mid. Pretty solid and probably still in the mid area. But as far as my guy, I already said it before. Like Reed Sheppard. I just think Reed Sheppard in a normal draft would not be going top 10. Like, he's a good role player. And athletically, those issues are there. It's hard for small guards. We've seen it. And the ones who are small that are doing well have like a really good mix of either really good athleticism or physical traits. That's like a John Morant, a Fred VanVleet, a Jalen Brunson, those type of guys, right? Sheppard doesn't really have that, so he has to be willing to be like scrappy like VanVleet and Brunson. Maybe he is able to do so. But one thing that both of them have that he does not have is good shot creation skills. Like, he doesn't drive to the rim a lot, which is why I was kind of, when we were talking about like the whole getting 50 points, I'm like, what, not the foul line? Like, he doesn't really go to the rim much. He doesn't do a lot on ball, you know? Like, he can do a little bit, but not a whole lot there. And so in my mind, I'm just like he's good. He's a very solid player. I still always struggle to see where I rank him because I'm like, where does that fall in this draft, right? But do I see any like superstar potential or star potential? No, I see like a star in his role type guy, you know? But I definitely think that's interesting. All right, last one. Start with you, Julian. Go through Steven. Most likely to be an internet sensation for whatever reason. This could be, anything. This could be literally anything. This could be the Boban Marjanovic. This could be your to quote a kid I follow. When looking at recently, like Eli Ellis, like just a guy who's really good at social media. Like, it could be anyone. Like, who is your most likely to be an internet sensation?
To me.
Yeah, that was you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Well, there's a cheat answer, which is Jared McCain, because he's already internet famous.
So that's good. Well done.
That's what I wrote down, but I don't want to go with that one. because I think that's a cop out, you know. So I'm going to go with, look, and people love like absolute Goliaths in the NBA. So I think Zach Edey is going to get a cult following.
That was mine.
Idiots.
Yeah, there we go.
Already has one. There you go. I'm with it. Zach Edey for sure. I think that's a solid answer. Steven, who do you have?
Let me go all the way. I'm on my iPad here. Let me go all the way down my board to the 50s. Give me Trenton Flowers. Julian's looking at me because he knew I was writing my Trenton Flowers for the draft guide last night, his profile. The dude, I think, might be the best athlete in this class. I think he's going to go viral for some of the dunks that he does. He's a walking paint touch, so I think he's going to have the opportunity to put guys on posters. And he also reclassified before committing to Louisville and then going to the NBL instead. So he's still only 18 years old. He's super young. I could see him, becoming a sensation as he grows into his game and realizes his athleticism, putting guys on posters. And I think that's what a lot of the internet sensations involve. Remember when Zion was in high school? It wasn't because he was this crazy, awesome basketball player. It was because he was dunking. I think Trenton Flowers is the best dunker in the class. So that's what I think it comes down to for this question.
Okay. I like it. I'm going to go with a different guy. I'm going to go with Dalton Connect. I just feel like the dude is one of those guys that's going to get like a Twitter, Instagram following. Like he scores the ball, like popular-ish. I don't know why I feel that, but I definitely have a feeling he's going to be like that type of player. And he's like an outside the ballpark kind of pick.
I think it depends where he lands. I think it depends where he lands.
Okay. What do you think if he's in Portland?
Does Portland still have Jeremy Grant at that point? Like, is he starting for them?
No. I mean, they're going to have Jeremy Grant because they're not going to want to get the contract.
I think in Corban, I know you were talking, so I didn't want to cut you off.
But you're good.
I think if Dalton Connect ends up in like Charlotte playing alongside LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller, I 100% agree with you that he could be like this internet sensation. But if he's playing in San Antonio, well, I don't know, San Antonio with Wemby, he still might be as well, just because Wemby's must-see TV. But like Portland, I don't know. Memphis, maybe if he's with John Moran. I think it depends who he's playing with and like the context of the situation,
No, that makes sense. I like it. So context specific for him.
Like if he goes to 11 to Chicago, I don't think anybody's going to care what Dalton Connect does his first 3 years in the league. And that's nothing to say bad about Dalton Connect.
You're making Chicago sound like Siberia.
Passion kind of is right.
It might as well be.
Oh boy, that's hilarious. That's like the basically like Vancouver back in the late 90s for NBA team players. Like, congratulations, they're going to Vancouver. And Steve Francis is like, nope. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh boy. Well, listen, y'all. Thanks for indulging me here, having a little fun with these draft superlatives. Definitely appreciate y'all kind of giving some insight just on some players in a different way, which I think is kind of unique and kind of fun to do. But real quick, definitely want y'all to share again with the good folks where they can find both of you and your work. And let's pump this draft guide out one more time. Julian, start with you, and then Steven, go to you. Where, again, can people find you and the work that you do?
So you can find me on Twitter at 12jmendel. I have a second Twitter from an old podcast I used to do, but I don't use it. It's kind of just my,
burner.
You could call it that.
get off your real bad takes. Yeah.
I don't even tweet from it, so I don't use a burner properly, I guess. But you can find the draft guide on any one of our Twitters probably, but especially at on the _clock BB.
What a name.
On Twitter. That dude, it throws me off. I didn't create the Twitter handle. I just signed up to be part of the brand, man.
There you are. There you are. You didn't choose the brand, it shows you.
Yeah. The brand shows me, I guess, is how we're doing it. But yeah, draft guide is available now for pre-order for $12. It comes out Thursday, I think around midnight. Thursday at time TBD. I don't want to make any promises, but if you look If you don't pre-order it and you look Friday on our Twitter, it will be there in full. A lot of good stuff in there, a lot of good content creators. You can even see Corban's takes and his big board in there on some of these guys. All right, Steven.
No pressure, Steven.
Okay. Yeah, as Julian said, $12, $20 after the pre-sale. So I recommend getting it now before the price goes up, obviously. Save yourself the $8. And come support us. If you enjoyed this content, I don't see why you wouldn't enjoy the draft guide, given we're 3 of the contributors on it. But yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at @the_NBAGel. That's NBAGELL. Go listen to the Bird Rights podcast. As you guys know, Corban and I are doing our 30-team offseason previews, which we're roughly halfway done. And we also just completed the mock offseason, which we will be recording another episode on later today about. We released an episode with Julian with the Sixers offseason preview and with the basically pod 1 of the mock offseason, given Julian was also a contributor on that. And yeah, it was a super fun exercise. We just finalized rosters. We are having the rosters be graded over the next few days to see which GMs got fired and which ones are getting extended. So I will be tweeting that out as well shortly. So be on the lookout for that. And go listen to the One and Done podcast if you're into college basketball. Even if you're not into college basketball, we will get you into it, I could assure you. We just interviewed Jared Calhoun, who is the head coach at Utah State University. He was the best man in Joe Mazzulla's wedding, and Joe Mazzulla obviously just won an NBA championship as coach. And yeah, otherwise, that's pretty much it. Go listen. I'm releasing a mock draft on Busting Brackets, the fan-sided college basketball website, in the next few days. Be on the lookout for that. And I'm also writing a Utah State article after my interview with Coach Calhoun. And obviously I have a relationship with first-team Mountain West player from last year, Darius Brown, who played at Utah State. So I have quotes from both of them that will be in the article. So go check that out. And yeah, it's a week away from the draft, so I'm excited. Maybe doing a live stream. I don't want to promise anything yet, but Julian and I are trying to finalize the logistics on that. So yeah, we'll be on the lookout for that as well. Corban, take it away.
Appreciate you, man. Way to share it. Love it. All right, y'all. Well, I'll do it here. Follow me on Twitter at CorbanNBA, CORBANNBA. Check out Swish Theory at Swish Theory. Got some great work out from there as well. Some other good draft stuff. It's a great time if you're a draft fan. Get a lot of great content from draft minds all over. So Swish Theory, no exception there. Make sure to check them out as well. But that'll do it here for Julian, for Steven, for myself. We are Frosty. Y'all stay frosty, and we'll talk to you real soon. All right, y'all.